Welcome to Minnesota Explorer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you a new adventure somewhere in Minnesota with every episode. Each week, we'll travel to a different destination, from scenic state parks and beautiful lakes to fascinating cities, historic landmarks, and hidden gems tucked away across this incredible state. If you're gearing up for your own trip, head over to northstartravelers.com, where you'll find gear recommendations to help you travel smarter, plus a full list of our other podcast shows covering destinations around the world. If you love discovering new places and planning your next adventure, follow the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leaving a positive review goes a long way in helping others find it. Now let's explore Minnesota. There is a lake in the middle of Minnesota that has been pulling people to its shores for thousands of years. Not just pulling them, holding them, calling them back. It covers more than 132,000 acres and stretches across 76 miles of shoreline. And when you stand at the water's edge on a clear morning and look out, you realize you cannot see the other side. That is not what most people expect from an inland lake. That is what you get from Mille Lacs. Mille Lacs Lake sits in east-central Minnesota, roughly 90 miles north of the Twin Cities, close enough for a day trip but vast and immersive enough to justify a long weekend. It is the second largest inland lake in the state, and in terms of reputation, prestige, and sheer fishing legend, it punches well above even that impressive rank. Drive north on U.S. Highway 169, and the communities of Garrison, Onamia, Isle, and Waukon appear around its edges like points on a compass, each one with its own character, its own stretch of shoreline, and its own deep connection to the lake. The name itself comes from the French. Mille Lacs means 1,000 lakes, a phrase that feels both fitting and mysterious for a place this singular. The Ojibwe called it Minsisau-Geigen, and their relationship with this water runs far deeper than any name on a European map. For thousands of years, the Ojibwe and the Dakota people before them inhabited this landscape, and archaeologists consider the area around Mille Lacs to be among the earliest known sites of human settlement in all of Minnesota. You are not just visiting a lake. You are standing on ground that people have called home since before recorded history. The story of how the Mille Lacs band of Ojibwe came to this place is one of migration, prophecy, and perseverance. According to Ojibwe oral tradition, the Anishinaabe people were directed by prophecy to travel west from the Atlantic coast until they reached the place where the food grows on water, the lakes of wild rice. By the mid-1700s, they had established themselves in the region around Mille Lacs Lake, and a 250-year relationship with this land had begun. The French fur traders who came through here in the 1600s and 1700s found a people already deeply woven into the landscape, harvesting wild rice in the fall, fishing through the ice in winter, tapping maple trees in the spring, and hunting through the warm months. The Treaty of 1837 changed things profoundly, as treaties tended to do. The Mille Lacs band ceded millions of acres but retained the right to hunt, fish, and gather on the ceded lands. It was a right that Minnesota prosecuted band members for exercising for decades, until the U.S. Supreme Court stepped in and, in 1999, upheld the treaty rights the band had never abandoned. Today, the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe is a sovereign nation with its own government, its own schools, and its own conservation code. The reservation sits along the southern shore of the lake, and the band's presence here is not just historical, it is very much alive and thriving. One of the best places to connect with that history is the Mille Lacs Indian Museum and Trading Post, located on the lake's western shore on U.S. Highway 169 just north of Onamia. The museum tells the story of the band from their origins on the Atlantic coast through their migration to Minnesota and into the present day. Life-size figures inside depict the seasonal cycle of Ojibwe life, the sugaring camp in spring, the summer fishing wigwam, the wild rice camp in fall, and the winter teepee insulated against the cold. Guides at the museum, some of whom are descendants of the very people depicted, bring the exhibits to life with stories that no interpretive placard can fully capture. Adjacent to the museum, a restored 1930s trading post serves as the gift shop, stocked with what is said to be Minnesota's largest selection of traditional and contemporary Indigenous arts and crafts. If you're going to buy a piece of handcrafted work on your trip, this is the place to do it. And if you want to understand the land around the lake even more deeply, drive just a few miles south and turn into Mille Lacs-Cathio State Park. This is Minnesota's fourth largest state park and one of its most historically significant. The park straddles the Rum River as it begins its long journey south to the Mississippi, and archaeological sites found within its boundaries, some dating back more than 9,000 years, trace a nearly uninterrupted record of human presence. There are 19 prehistoric sites within the park, standing near the banks of the Rum River, knowing that people camped and fished and built communities in this exact spot for millennia has a way of quieting the mind. But Cathio is not just a place for quiet reflection, it is also a genuinely wonderful outdoor destination. The park has 35 miles of trails for hiking, biking, horseback riding, cross-country skiing, and snowshoeing. In summer, a 100-foot observation tower gives you one of the best elevated views of the lake you will find anywhere. The park offers camping ranging from primitive sites to electric hookups, and it has canoe and kayak rentals if you want to paddle the Rum River or access the smaller lakes, Ogeechee, Shakopee, and Onamia, that the river connects as it flows through the park. In winter, the trails become groomed cross-country ski paths, and the equipment rental station at the park office means you do not need to bring your own gear. On the southeastern shore of the lake, near the town of Isle, Father Hennepin State Park offers a completely different experience from Cathio. Father Hennepin is smaller, about 320 acres, but it sits right on the big lake itself, and its sandy beach is one of the finest public swimming beaches on Mille Lacs. The beach stretches a quarter of a mile along the shore with water as far as the eye can see in front of you. 2 accessible fishing piers extend into the lake, so you can wet a line without ever needing a boat. Hiking trails wind through the hardwood forest and along the rocky shoreline, and the park is one of the rare places in Minnesota where you might spot an albino white-tailed deer. A small herd of them makes their home here. A volleyball court, horseshoe pits, and picnic areas round out the amenities, making Father Hennepin an ideal spot for families who want a full day at the lake without the logistics of a resort stay. Now, we should talk about the fishing, because you cannot talk about this lake without talking about the fishing. It is simply inseparable from the identity of this place. The lake has long been nicknamed the Walleye Factory, and that is not marketing language, it is a legitimate description of how this lake produces fish. Mille Lacs is a prime spawning ground for walleye, and the shallow, wind-mixed water creates ideal habitat. The lake has no permanent thermocline, which means fish can travel the entire body of water rather than stratifying in layers, and that makes finding them both a challenge and an adventure. There are also trophy smallmouth here. Mille Lacs has been ranked among the top smallmouth fisheries in the entire country. Northern pike, muskie, jumbo perch, and black crappie round out a lineup that keeps anglers coming back in every season. One of the most distinctive fishing experiences on Mille Lacs, and honestly in all of Minnesota, is fishing from one of the lake's large passenger launches. These are open water vessels that can hold up to 50 people, and more than 20 resorts and businesses around the lake offer launch trips with experienced captain guides who know exactly where the fish are biting. The launch captain will bait your hook, and if you'd like, clean your catch afterward. For families introducing kids to fishing, or for groups of friends who want a social experience on the water without all the gear, launch fishing is something truly unique to Mille Lacs. You will not find this kind of operation on most Minnesota lakes. If you are a serious angler who wants to go deep on the walleye fishery, hiring a private guide is well worth it. The guides who work Mille Lacs have accumulated generations of knowledge about this lake, and they stay in constant communication with each other about where the fish are moving. The walleye population hit a challenging low around 2016 due to a combination of high temperatures, fishing pressure, and natural cycles. But the Minnesota DNR tracked a steady rebound through 2023 and 2024, and the regulations have responded accordingly. It is worth checking current DNR fishing regulations before your trip, as they can shift from season to season based on population monitoring. And then winter comes, and Mille Lacs transforms into something almost otherworldly. When the ice is thick enough, typically by December and often lasting into March, thousands of ice fishing houses appear on the lake, a pop-up city of shelters ranging from basic shacks to full-on luxury ice castles, with heat, cooking facilities, satellite television, and sleeping bunks for overnight stays. The collection of ice houses on Mille Lacs has been nicknamed Frostbite Flats, and at its peak, it is home to more than 5,000 structures. It is one of the largest concentrations of ice fishing activity in the world. Renting a sleeper house and spending the night on the ice, fishing through a hole cut in the floor while the stars are bright overhead, and the rest of the world is somewhere far away, is exactly the kind of experience that Minnesotans describe when they talk about loving winter. For those who prefer their winter activities above the ice, the Sioux Line Trail runs 11 paved miles along the southern shore, connecting Onamia and Isle, and in winter it becomes part of an extensive snowmobile trail network. The trails around the lake draw riders from across the region, and Cathio State Park grooms its own trails for cross-country skiing and snowshoeing. Circling the entire lake is the Lake Mille Lacs Scenic Byway, a 68-mile loop that was officially designated a Minnesota Scenic Byway in 2019, a recognition that travelers had been quietly giving it for decades. The drive follows the shoreline through the small communities around the lake, past the Mille Lacs Indian Museum, through the wooded approach to Cathio State Park, and along stretches where the water opens wide to the horizon. In autumn, when the hardwoods along the southern shore are at peak color and the lake reflects the sky, it is among the most beautiful drives in the state. Give yourself 2 to 3 hours to do the full loop at a comfortable pace and plan a stop or two along the way. In Garrison, on the northwestern shore, you will find the nominal capital of the area. The town is small, but it has the feeling of a place that knows exactly what it is. A fishing town, full stop. The 15-foot fiberglass walleye at the Garrison Concourse Wayside, overlooking a small beach and scenic overlook, is one of the more cheerful roadside monuments in the state and worth a photo stop. Twin Pines Resort, right on the water in Garrison, is one of the best spots around the lake for launch fishing, dining with a lake view, and overnight stays. The restaurant serves walleye caught right here on Mille Lacs, and the covered patio over the water gives you a front row seat to life on the lake. Across Highway 169 from the Mille Lacs Indian Museum, Grand Casino Mille Lacs is operated by the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe and offers hotel rooms, dining, entertainment, and, of course, gaming. The Grand Makwa Cinema nearby provides a film option for evenings when the weather turns, and the Casino Hotel's indoor pool is a welcome amenity if you are traveling with kids who need an alternative to the lake. On the south and eastern shore, the towns of Onamia, Waukon, and Isle each have their own personality. Onamia is the gateway to Cathio State Park and sits at the head of the Sioux Line Trail. Waukon is quieter and more local in feel. Mugs on Mille Lacs is a popular casual stop there, known to snowmobilers and lake travelers alike. Isle has a friendly small-town energy, with its own beach at Father Hennepin State Park essentially starting at the edge of town. And McCoyd's Inn is a well-regarded base for anglers fishing the eastern side of the lake. Country Corner Cafe in Isle is the kind of home cooking spot that makes you slow down and linger over a second cup of coffee. Eddie's Resort, between Isle and Garrison on the North Shore, is a full-service resort with its own dining room and guide service, a favorite for groups who want everything in one place. The best time to visit Mille Lacs depends on what you are after. The walleye fishing opener in early May is a major event, and the lake fills quickly. If you are planning to be here for that, book accommodations well in advance, sometimes a year ahead. Summer brings warm water and long days ideal for swimming, boating, kayaking, and paddleboarding. Fall is spectacular for the foliage drive and offers some of the best fishing of the year with fewer crowds, and winter, as we have established, is a world entirely unto itself. One practical note: walleye regulations on Mille Lacs can change seasonally, so always verify with the Minnesota DNR before your trip. The lake is closely monitored, and management decisions are made to protect the fishery for the long term. It is part of what keeps the lake as productive as it has been for so many generations. For lodging, the lake has options in every direction and at every price point. On the western and northern shore, Twin Pines Resort and Eddie's Resort both offer packages that bundle accommodations, guide service, and on-site dining. IZAT's resort on the southern shore is one of the larger full-service properties, with townhome units, pools, and golf. Fisher's Resort near Isle is a family-run operation with 1,900 feet of private lake frontage and a loyal following going back 3 generations. Grand Casino Mille Lacs offers the convenience of a hotel connected to entertainment and restaurants, and Father Hennepin State Park provides camping for those who want to fall asleep to the sound of the lake. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Before you go, a few quick things. Subscribe so you never miss a destination, leave us a positive review to help others find the show, and share this episode with someone who loves exploring Minnesota. And if you're hungry for more adventures beyond Minnesota, visit northstartravelers.com to explore our other podcast shows and browse gear recommendations for wherever your next journey takes you. Your support means the world and keeps these adventures coming. Thanks for joining us, and happy trails.